In this section, I'm going to talk about the degree of a polynomial. How this is defined may seem a little confusing, but we have to remember terms and the concept of terms that was done back in 6th grade. Okay, so the first thing is that we look at one thing grouped together, all right? And if it's separated by a plus or minus, it's called a term. In this case, we have 4x squared y to the 3. All you have to do to find the degree of a monomial is to add the exponents together, 2, 3. So that ends up being 5, okay? If for some reason it was something like 4x2 y3 z to the, it just had z, then you would actually add up 2 plus 3 plus 1. That would make it 6. That means there's an implied 1 there if it's not put there, just to make sure that you notice this. That's kind of an important part of that, is understanding when the 1 is implied. Now we look at something, just a number by itself. It doesn't have an exponent with it, right? Its degree is 0, right? So in this case, 7.2 equals 7.2 times x to the 0. Now when we say x to the 0, anything raised to the 0 power equals 1, okay? Polynomials written in standard form, okay? Standard form is when they're written from the greatest degree to the least degree. We're just talking mainly about the exponent. So this is why you say 5t to the second, and it's t to the 1, and it's just the constant by itself, 4. That's standard form, descending order when you write these things, okay? So polynomials with more than one variable are written ascending or descending order for one of the variables. So this case, it'd be a to the 4. We're looking at the 4. Then it goes a to the 3, a to the 2. Now notice how b goes up. Well, as long as we're tracking that 1, a to begin with, and we usually do alphabetical order too as well, is that it would write in that direction. Okay, that's how you would write that down. The degree of the polynomial is the greatest of all the degrees of its terms. Now keep in mind, this is a term, and this is a term. You know how we remember that? Is because why? It's separated by this plus, okay? Just as long as you understand that that's a big factor when doing this, is that you're just always looking at the plus separating terms here. I'm going to cover this back up so we can see what's going on. So we look at this, 4 plus 2, that's 6 on this side. 3 plus 1 is 4 on that side, okay? Polynomial is the biggest of the two, so it's 6, okay? Now, you're classifying one variable polynomials, okay? Degree of 0 is just a number by itself. It's linear, makes a line, and we'll work on this much later on in chapters ahead, is just when you just have an x. It's not x squared or anything else. It's just 3x minus 9 or 2x minus 1 or x minus 2. That would be a linear example of polynomial. Quadratic has a square in it, okay? And cubic, one of them has a cube, right? Kind of makes sense. Now let's look at the problems that you have for this, okay? Should make a little more sense. We're going to do this, right? Degree of the polynomial is you look at the variable, okay? And then you turn around and you say, does this have a variable? No, there's none at all. So the degree for this would be 0, right? If I see that, it kind of makes sense, right? I put a 0, I put a line through it too, so I can make sense of it. These shouldn't be too bad. Remember, you're going to basically look at the things inside the term. There may be a tricky one like this. Ooh, what about this one? And you can figure this one if I tell you how this one works. What's the degree of this? This would right here be the polynomials, all these together, but you would say it's second degree, right? Well, how do we know? Well, this one is 2. You can't combine it, right? And the reason why you can't combine it is because it's separated. These are terms. This is one term, and this is a separate term because it's either plus or minus. This guy, on the other hand, right, this would be a 4, and this would be a 2, right? 1 and 1's 2. 2 and 2 is 4. So this would be a 4th, right, degree, okay? As long as you kind of see what we're doing there. Writing this in standard form, just kind of explain that when writing it, take the highest and work your way down, all right? In this case, it should be very easy. We make this example 11x squared plus 6x plus 17, right? You just take the biggest one and work backwards, right? Let's take one that here is, oh, this is all wonky, right? So I'm going to work on this one. I got W and Z. I'm going to do W first, okay? So I'm going to go minus W4Z4, right? Then where's the next one? Oh, this one right here. So I'm just tracking the W's, right? So that'll be minus 2W2Z5. What's my next one is W? This one plus 16WZ3. And the last one is plus 9. Remember, you can take the negative with this guy. See how I did that with, I'm sorry, I'll do this one first, right? I took the negative with this guy and put him in the front, and then with this guy, I put it with this one. And we did that when you combine like terms. So that should be memory lane, okay? Some of that stuff. Looking at the rest of these, they're all doing the same thing, okay? Here, you want to use terms, like I just showed you on that one sheet: constant, linear, quadratic, cubic, mononomial, binomial, and trinomial. And this has to do with the first thing. 5-1 talks about what's the name of these things. And you can pretty much say if it's all based on terms, right? Trinomial has 3, a binomial has 2, right? This is a monomial, there's only one thing, okay? And then you evaluate its expression, which means they want you to put numbers in and solve for it. It shouldn't be too hard, okay? And then part of this is just making sure that you're just inserting a number and solving for it. And obviously, in this case, you can use your calculator for doing this. So if you say minus and you say C is minus 4, remember when you're putting this in your calculator, you're writing it like this, right? Minus, I put minus 4 raised to the 5th in my calculator, right? That's how we're doing this, okay? All right, so you should get your answers doing this, okay? Well, hopefully, like I said, this should be challenging. There's 40 of them, and this is it's gonna be a way of making sure you understand what's going on when you're trying to determine the degree of polynomial and actually naming them. So it shouldn't be too bad. It says right there, use calculator. Please do it. Okay, good.